here. Welcome. This is a digital ATDN presentation. Communication is key, building a positive rapport with students using talking points and spreadsheets. And our presenter today is Jose Adorno. Aren't you all excited? Jose is a wonderful presenter, so thank you so much for joining us and taking the time to do this, Jose. Just some information for you. There is technical support. I did put a link also in the chat box. If you have any questions specific to what's being presented or anything additional outside of what the presentation is going over, definitely feel free to schedule a support session with one of our technical support specialists. And again, that link is also in the chat. And additionally, we have a couple newsletters that you are free to sign up for to gather additional information about both ATDN and digital ATDN. And those are available by visiting the websites, which I will also add to the chat. There is a portion on the homepage of the website that allows you to sign up for the newsletters, and they provide lots of great information, resources, and programming. So again, I will put those websites into the chat as well. And I'm going to turn it over to Jose.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I'm very excited to be here, but I noticed since last year I keep saying that I'm excited to be here, so that's a good thing. I'm still excited, right? um, we have also an upcoming session for next week, which is Become a Data-Driven Agency. Use Google Forms and Google Sheets to deliver data-driven instruction. This will be included as well as when the sites go out, and it it will build a little bit about what we're going to be talking about today, at a different perspective, of course. Before we begin, I wanted to share something from this morning. And when I have two girls, so we go into school in the morning. The second little one, she turns 5 today. She turned 5 this morning. She's very excited. So when we get out of the house, we always try to find a way to get them excited to, on their way to school. And I saw water on the car and windshield. I said, "Oh wait, so there's dew outside." So I go in and tell the girls, if we go out soon, you'll be able to see dew outside. So they knew what it was, what dew was, because they had asked me if someone watered the grass one morning. So we go outside and they see dew, and they're all excited because they see all these droplets. So as I'm walking, I see a patch where the sun rays were hitting in an angle. And as I was walking, it had like this glitter effect. So I go and I tell the girls, "Oh, stop right there." I go to in front of them. So you're gonna look at this patch of grass, and as you walk towards it, I want you to look and tell me what you see. So as they walk towards it, they see it shine. So oh, it's shining, it's shining. So they were very excited with that. And I told them that that was nature's glitter, and that's one of the ways nature wishes us to have a great day by doing having like that shining effect. So they were super excited. They got to school. And while I'm coming back down, I was thinking about it, and I'm thinking about today's presentation and how important it is what we say, the level of intention of what we do things. And as adult education staff that we take here in Connecticut, sometimes we go too fast, and we go so fast because we always look at the end goal, that sometimes we miss a lot of the things that makes us, be human and appreciate what's going on around us. But it's when you look at kids, it's backwards. Everything they see is something immediate. They don't see what's going to happen 2 blocks down. They see everything that happened immediate. So that just brought me back a little bit in thinking about the level of intention that we bring to the classroom. What do we want to focus on? What emphasis we want to give students? Because eventually that shifts perspective. How, a simple checking up on someone, just following up on a conversation that you had a couple weeks ago, just shows a level of intention that just really shapes how you see things and you are appreciative. And with that in mind, I just wanted to share that because it kind of resonated with me when I was getting ready for today. So the question that we want to go in before we look at the presentation is, why do students miss class? We're going to do a quick Mentimeter word cloud exercise. You could scan the QR code here with your phone. Just open the camera. You could go just hover there and it'll click in. Also, you can copy this or click on this link once give me 1 second, I'll head back to it. There we go. Let me copy and paste it here. You could also go there and just answer it. There's you could put up to 4 words. I'll keep these up in case you want to do the phone. And what you're just put in what reasons that students miss class. So we have health, didn't like the teacher, transportation, childcare, work, needs are not met, schedule not convenient. Right? There's many reasons. Sometimes we know the reasons and sometimes we don't. Language barriers. Nice. That's a nice one. Language barriers. Awesome. Okay. So there's many reasons, and sometimes as staff, teachers, counselors, while we work with students, we do know that information, but it's not always easy to quantify it. And sometimes with a lot of agencies and if we want to make some change, sometimes we need, quantifiable data. So in today's presentation, right, here's we're gonna have the snapshot of what was done for the exercise. But today we're going to implement procedures in your agency to build a better communication system with talking points while collecting information about barriers students face with spreadsheets. We are going to we're going to learn what is available with the free version of talking points, enroll students in talking points using Google or Microsoft Forms, customize talking points to allow students to read messages in their primary language, and collect and categorize the reasons why students may be absent using Google Sheets. Before we go into talking points and see the different options of what we're going to explore today, things to consider when we use a communication platform. So here are a few tips on making sure you get the most out of talking points or any other preferred communication platform. Number one, set accounts through onboarding or during the first few days of class. Onboarding is not always available. It's nice because you get the accounts ahead of time, so you don't have to worry about that. But even during the first few days of class, if that's not the case, take the time and get them set up, right? In one of the ways you could do this is to include this as an activity of the class. If it's a student that they say they don't communicate well in the language, in English, I could show you a way that you could do that. But because there's certain questions there that you can ask, you could do like a practice exercise of like, oh, what is your name? And once everyone understands what they're, how they could answer that question, then that could be something that they could put in that Google form. But there's other ways. Again, I'll show you how that works. Also, select the option you are most comfortable in assisting students with the student enrollment. There's a lot of there's like about 5 ways that you could do that. While there are many ways to do it, try to pick the ones that you are comfortable with, because when you're trying to import them, and you'll see with some of these, it's just there's different there's a document that you can scan and all that. If you have any questions with what to look for, you could always schedule a tech support session that Amy shared earlier with and it is also included in the presentation. And we could also explore like what are the options, how they look like if we have to go slower pace. The second point is let students know what and when will they receive messages. As a parent, I receive messages from my school or from my kid's school, and sometimes there's not that clear communication how you're going to be what are you going to receive as a student that comes into the program and they start receiving messages from the school. They don't know what they signed up for, and a lot of the information that we get is spam. So if there's, especially if there's a link that you're sending to students, they won't look at it because it's just sometimes, you don't know what you're clicking on, and even on emails that happens. So going through that in the classroom, what will they receive, when or are they will they receive different messages will just be helpful for the student, and then more effective for you as well, in the sense that they could get the information or receive the information you're sending. Um, Practice sending messages in the classroom. Same thing. You do a practice run. They'll see how it looks like when they receive it. You can see how it looks like for them as well. At the same time, great thing to do is to practice with teachers. You have a coworker that's going to use it. Just sign each other up in and create a class and sign each other for the class and just practice through it. Last but not least, schedule fixed times for students to receive your messages. Very important. When we, during shutdown, I was sending out emails late at night because I couldn't control the scheduling. Like I was sending invites to Google Classrooms. So when I would send them, that's what it was, right? I couldn't schedule when to send it. So what happened is that would some students would go and take a look and try to reach out at me at that time. You don't want to you don't want to really start that with students. You have the option to schedule announcements or messages to students. You could type your message, you schedule how to send it, when you want them to send it always at the same time. If you work at 10 at night, I work at night. I like to work at night, but I go at night and I create some sessions or messages, schedule them to release at 8 in the morning, and just be consistent with that time. That way, students know when they are expected to receive any messages from you. So jumping into talking points. What is talking points? Talking Points is a communication platform that allows teachers and other school staff to communicate with students outside the classroom. They use human and AI powered two-way translated communication to facilitate conversation between teachers and families, which in turn eliminates barriers including language and time. This comes from their website. There's more elaborate to that. You could click here when you receive the slides and you'll see like they're about. They have a lot of information there. But this word here with the two-way translated communication, it works very well. It's not perfect, but it does a good job in translating on the go and fast. Sometimes if a word doesn't work out, or if the student doesn't understand, they have an option where they could reach out and have someone live, a real person, translate the information for them and just double check the translation and see how they won't talk to them, but they'll rewrite it so they could understand. So it's really helpful, and the great thing about it is it's free. So there's no paid feature. It is not a paid feature. So this is the main website, and their goal is to reach out for parents. So this is a K-12 program. If I click here, you'll see here that it's teachers sign up for free. But when you go here, they focus on family engagement. They want family to be involved in the schools. So being able to communicate back and forth allows that language barrier not to be there, so they could get information from their schools. In adult education is different because if we look at it this way, we're working with the parents themselves, right? And in addition to that, well, maybe they're not parents. They're still the parents. So some students, when they come, they still have their parents is monitoring with that. I wouldn't go into that if you wanted to go that route, but it at least gives you the option to communicate with those students that are low level in the language. What do you get with the free Talking Points account? So you get you're signing up for an individual teacher account. So all teacher accounts are separate. There's no connection between them. There's over 100 languages available to select. If you're looking at students that know English, you could select English, and that would cover it. You don't need to select necessarily their native language. There's a 200 student limit and a five class limit. So the student limit, it's across all 5 classes. So you could have you have 425, you have 425 student classes, and then the other one could be 75, and that's your 200. But you can't go past the 200 or past the 5 class. There's class-wise surveys. You could have like a yes or no. You could have a couple options if you wanted to ask them. There's access to the web and mobile app. I totally recommend the mobile app. There's a couple of good features for students to do that, but there's also the teacher one as well. There's basic data reports, which really is like who's responding to the announcements, who voted on the poll when you do like the survey. There's access to their resource center that includes step-by-step instructions and how-to videos on all the features and talking points. So if you click here under resource center, I included a link there. It'll walk you through every single step. It's they'll explain it all the way down. It's very useful. And the last one is that teachers' phone numbers are not required. You could use the phone number. You sign up with your email and you use the account, and that's it. There's no, they don't use the app. If you use the app, if you download it on your phone, and if you go through the website, you just sign in and you could use it. So there's no phone number sharing from your end. From the students, they do put in their phone number. Any questions so far? We have a let's discuss. So what are the pros and cons when we allow students to use their language to communicate in adult education? And we're referring to, outside of the classroom, not during class. Let me make sure I share this as an open. Okay, so let me go back and post this here. We have a Jamboard activity. When you click on the link, you have there's 3 slides. On the following boards, list pros and or cons when we allow students to communicate with an agency in their first language. So we click here on the next frame. You have your pros and you have your cons. We go here on the left side, right under the arrow right here, there's a sticky note. You can click on the sticky note and you could type in your pro and your con.
Jose, we are in view only. Can you change that so we have access to the sticky notes? Thank you.
No problem. maybe the same link, but you might, if it doesn't let you allow you, just reload the page, and you should be able to enter. So for pros, we have students will feel empowered to communicate. We have helps build relationships. Students love when you try to communicate in their language. Translation errors might take students a bit more time to communicate in English, not understanding what they are trying to express. Very good, very great points. Encouraged use of native language helps others learn a new language. Awesome. You guys, if you guys have more things to put in, feel free to do so. I wanted to do this activity because we, as as adult education, right? It's not a clear cut answer as to, oh, this you should do it because it's not a there's a gray area with it, right? It's not clear cut. But as we go into talking points, you have the option, and I will show you how to do that with making using English as the main language, but also adding that layer of, if it's a very low group, to get the information out to them, not during class, but if you're reaching out to them, if there's cancellations and things like that, they have the option to get that in their language. So it's something that each agency needs to determine on themselves on what they would like to do. But it's a good talking points is a good tool to meet students where they are and kind of build them up to where they could be sufficient in English to communicate, and then you switch over and just have the English language as the interface and things like that. So enrolling students in talking points. Talking points give you different options to enter student information in the system. You can use the following forms to collect information from your students. So there's a Google form and a Microsoft form. This form picks up in the order that they request that they ask you to do, like the import, if you wanted to do an import with an Excel sheet, which is this first one here. Saves a lot of time if the students could fill that out, and then it's just a matter of adding them in and they're all set. Um, we'll look at these other two so you could see how it looks like. In the next slide, we're going to go straight into talking points to do the presentation. Just as a FYI, while we go into talking points, I'll have a recording of the walkthrough in talking points. So you'll have the video available here if you just need to get a refresher of talking points like after the session. There you go. So before I actually show you this, let me show you the form. This is what the students receive, or this is the Google form copy. Microsoft form is exactly the same way. It's just with Microsoft, and when you export the information, it goes into Excel. With Google Sheet, with Google Form, it will go into Google Sheet. So you have their first name and last name. The contact and first and last name, this is optional, but we have it here so that way it creates that slot when you're importing. You have the relationship. Because we're working with students, you have, when you receive this, you can make a copy and delete everything and just leave self student as the option. They'll click on it and I'll automatically add them when you put in I'll show you how you import it. And then here's the language. I copy this from the list of languages that they have. It's very picky as to how you write the language, because if not, it won't let you import. which is why you have the entire list here. If you know that you have students with a specific list of languages that you know ahead of time, you could remove a lot of these out. And then here is the phone number. So you're collecting the phone number from the student in order for it to work. Now let me go. Sorry, you're in the way. There we go. We're going here into talking points. So this, once you sign up to talking points, this is your main page. You have some information here on how to get started. You have your announcements, messages. Here's some reports. And it's reports are not, this is a different account. So this is an empty account, but you have here the classes. So if I click on Jose's class and I don't have any students, I can click down here or up here. This is always here to add additional students. So I'll click here. Already have your students' family contact info. You could add them manually or import them via our Excel or Google Sheet template. So you click here and you could download the templates. They have also a tutorial video here to show you. And these are the fields that you need to fill up. So what I did with the Google form and the Microsoft form is that I replicated this in the columns that you need in order to copy and paste. So right now, these are my responses. Oh, wait, and let me show you how you access that, right? As the person that controls the form, that created it, you go under responses and you click on this green view responses on sheet button in Sheets. When you click on it, it's going to open if you haven't created it, it'll prompt you to create a new sheet. If you already created it, then when you click on it, it just takes you to the contact. So now I click on the first name here, right? So I have my student list. I go all the way to the end, which will be the phone number. I'll hold the shift key and I click. What this will do is highlight the entire list from the beginning to the end. Now I right click and I copy the selection. When we go to talking points, you click on this first student name, you click on it, you right click and you paste. And when you do that, it automatically adds all the information for your students. So I have here my student name. I left contact names blank. All of them are self. The language, so you have Spanish and English, and the phone numbers. This is not picking a phone number. These are not real phone numbers, but as an example, this will come in here. When you click on add, it'll take a minute. There you go. Now you have the list of students. You have their status, if they're in the app, if they're using text, or if the number is invalid. If you need to add additional students, you go here to the add students. And then we have here additional options. You could type the information in. And this one is to invite via the code. So this is your class code. And this down here is the list of all the languages, the enrollment sheet and all the languages that they have available. So if I click, I'm going to click on English, right? So I click on download PDF. When I click on it, you have a welcome letter here, has your name, it has a QR code to download the app on the iPhone or on Android. It asks you to put the preferred language. And then you could join the class with the QR code. I mean, with the code. This is the same code for your class. So it does it automatically when you click the download. So you can't share this. You can't download this sheet and give it to teachers to share, because if you do that, they're all going to sign up to your account. So that's very important. Then they show you here how you could unsubscribe. They have additional options. Well, the last big option is by text message. And then again, you have instructions here on PDF. And then they could send a text message to this number. And they'll also get them enrolled. Again, if this is something that you want to explore a little bit further, feel free to sign up for a tech session and we could explore how this will look in your classroom or your agency. Under messages, so you have two ways to send messages. You have announcements. I should have opened the other one, right? So you have some you already have some messages already that you could send ahead of time. You could save these as templates. So you could edit this to match what you need, and then you could save it as a template. I'm just going to send one just so you can see how it looks like over here. And right now, I received a text message that says haga clic aquí para ver, which is in Spanish. When I go in, this is translated in Spanish for me, so I could read. At me as a student that speaks Spanish, could read this and understand what the teacher said. Now, if you put English as the primary language, there's no translation feature. If you put it in Spanish, it allows students to see the original message by tapping on the message on the screen. So they tap on when they read it, it's only available on the app. So they tap on the message, and then it tells them view original message in the language that they have. And then when they tap on it, they'll see the language, their original language that there's being translated, and then their the English, which was the original one that was sent. And here you could send messages to specific students. So it keeps a thread to the message, to all messages by student. So I'm just going to do this quickly since I'm using the account that's empty. I'm going to send him this message, right? I can schedule it, right? So I could schedule the message. I could put it what day and what time I would like him to receive the message. And I could schedule it. I click cancel, then I could just send, if I wanted to send it now, I could send it. I'm gonna send one more to another student. I'm gonna send it to Jose Adorno. And I'll send it, right? So right now I could click here. I could click show translation, and I could see how the student's receiving the message, right? This is the Spanish. Not sure why Somali is coming up. Maybe there's a third language in this group, but you'll see the Spanish version right here. So you'll see what is that they received. Then you could go here to, well, let me go in quick and answer it. So as my app loads, okay, you're sending that out now. And I just sent them email the message. So right now here I get the message. You could show original message, but I wrote it in English, so it won't translate it for me. But you could see the original message as well. They have this option as well, this little question mark, to help them understand the message. So if it really doesn't make sense what how it translated, they still have that option to find that translation and see how that's when it goes to the human translator to check it out. You also get like the read status, so you know that they opened it. And in analytics, I'm clicking here on Jose's class. It gives you the context by language. Yeah, there's the Somali. See, you have ELL students, the valid phone numbers. So these are just very basic reporting. I when I use this app, I didn't use it as much. It does give you break down the language, which is nice to know. But when you go into the classes, which is the last thing I will show you, you see their language here. So if Jose Adorno, I could click here on the three dots, ellipsis. I could edit student. You have here, you could edit contact, and you could change the language here. Now, the student also has the option to change the language when they are in the app. And last thing that comes with the app, and I'm just going to go back to the PowerPoint. In the app, they have the option to listen to the message in the language that it comes in. If they translate it, they'll see them like they'll see them both. But it's kind of a nice feature that it gives you if you need some accessibility for students, then that you could do that as well. So here it shows you how you do it. Only thing about it is that when you can't really see it, you just tap and hold on it, and then the option comes up. So it says ver mensaje original, and which is view original message, and you'll see it, and you'll see the translated one and the English one. So at least it will give you that. If you're concerned of students communicating, and if they're trying to build the language, they can see the correlation of some of the words and things like that. I wouldn't say that use talking points as an activity, but you could look at some of the options when you're presenting when you're practicing in the classroom. And last but not least, here is where you can change on the student in the student account app. Sorry, you could change the language. So you have profile. There's a pencil here. Didn't notice it was actually updating, but there's a pencil here. You click on it and then you scroll to language, and you can select the language. The student changes it to English or to whatever language, if they're switching it to a different language, and the interface changes as well. So it gives them that language. So it's really user friendly for like low beginner students. And as they get comfortable, once they build their skill, their language development a little bit more, then you can switch them to English, or they can switch it to English if they feel comfortable. Any questions with the app? Kind of breeze through it. I will love this. It's very easy to use as well. Like I always say, go basic first. Just focus on you on sending an announcement and working on the message. Those are like the biggest two things that you can use. You get that down, and then you know, and exactly, yeah, for ESL students and with students in general too. Like you just have them in English. Don't give them the option if they're advanced or ABE students, JD students. You can just default the language to English. Um, I think it's a good meeting the students at their level kind of thing when they're low level and they're all they're concerned with the language barriers and all that stuff. That at least gives them that comfort that you could communicate with the teacher. If you're not comfortable with the class was too difficult, it gives them the option to reach out to you in their language and communicate to you that they're struggling with the class. And it gives you it gives them that space for them to communicate with you while they're learning the language. So the last part of the presentation is, and any questions come in, I'll be more than happy to reach out and to answer them. It's the absence trackers. So tracking absences can be very useful if we can count and categorize them without spending too much time to get the numbers. This is something that I've had a lot of experience with, and sometimes getting to the numbers, something that sometimes it's way too much work to get the numbers. So throughout the years, I've learned I always try to look for ways to get numbers quicker and be more effective. So that way we could use information. The information is useful. It's just it takes sometimes too long to get it. So here are fields that can be useful when collecting the information. We have the name of student, the class, have general types of absences. Here, for example, we have health and childcare. We have a comment section and dates when the absences happen. Now, I made I put emphasis on general because usually there's the absence could be related to health, but there's 20 reasons why within that health category that student was absent. And sometimes we try to be so specific with the data that it takes more time for us to categorize an absence. And in this case, we're talking about absence. It could be anything. It's too specific to categorize it because, we categorize it so much that then when we try to look for health, oh, this is a health reason. And then there's like these 20 ways you have to read through all of them. It makes it more difficult. So if you have a general type of absence, then you could filter information based off that absence and see then why these students were absent and just look at them as a group. And as a gift number 2, we have here a spreadsheet that you can use to collect data and easily analyze the information you're looking for. So we're going to click on the absence tracker. Oh, before I click on the absence tracker, this last slide is just a presentation or a summary of what the tracker can do. I just want to show you live so you can know how you fill it out. Okay. So we click on the absence tracker. I'm going to the table log first. So this is a practice one that I put in so you guys could see the information with it completed. The column that you want to focus on first is on column C. This is where you start entering data. Ignore A and B for now. You enter the date of absence. You could enter the student last name, student name, goes by first and last name, right? So you can select the student. You can select the class that they're in, the program, the location, the reasons for absence, and the comments. If you're using this as for like teacher purposes, you're most likely not going to need the program and the location, right? You just need, if you're doing multiple classes and you're trying to track everything, then you could have it this way, right? So you have C, D, E, H, and I. So you could delete, let's say, these two. And you could log in the absences. So how this works, this sheet, is that as you put in, and I'm going to put in today's example. So I double click on the date, calendar comes up and I can select the date. So I'll put today's date and I'm going to click here on the drop down. And I'm going to put Nick Wild. He was absent today. As you see here, there's nothing populating yet. He was absent on ABE class 1. So right now I have the absence here that it triggered, right? Because it's absence per class. I'm not gonna put, I'll just put something here so that way I'm filling everything up, right? So I have ABE location 1, and he was absent because of transportation. Now, number of absences with same reason has to do with the amount of reasons that he's been absent based on transportation. So if I add them 3 times, or actually, let's look at one of our other examples. So that's how you would see how it fills up. So Jose Adorno is chronically absent. Look at that, right? 6 of his absences have to do with health. And 4 of his absences has to do with transportation. Now, why is this helpful? It allows you to see how you could help, why students are being absent, because you're having general reasons for absence. So they're all grouped within the same. If I wanted to see if it's something that maybe in transportation, he takes the bus and he misses the bus, then you will see that under the comments. So that way you could take a look at, okay, he's absent by transportation. Is it, okay, so does the bus route stop by a time? Is it based on his work schedule? You could find that type of information that way. When you go to the absences report, you only need to know really from A to C to D. Like if you're as a teacher, this is what you might you could focus on to get that information. There's additional information here. It could work for agencies or like a specific location, but as a teacher, you will see the reasons for absences, the number of absences tied to that reason, which here is 8. And then you have the number of students. This is a unique student. So there's 3 students that are absent because of childcare reasons. And then you have here the students that have 3 or more absences. There's nothing that you need to do on any of this. The only thing you need to do is under the absence table log, you just enter the information here. Everything else calculates for you. I could always go into detail how to work it out, but only thing you need to do is just fill this out, and all that just populates for you if you wanted to use that. Now, let's say you do want to use it, right? It's very useful. You think it's amazing, and you want to use the sheet. We could go here to the drop-down menu. You could add the last first name and middle name for students here, and it'll update and it will appear as the drop-down. You could do the class, and it'll and you know these, right? When you put this in, so if I put here, oops, I did it wrong. I'm going to put Judy Hops again, right? When I go like this, it turned red. That means that there's already a Judy Hops on my list, but it's not really the same student. It's Judy A. Hops, right? So I put Judy A. Hop, and then it fixes it out. So I know that there I won't get confused when I see the name twice. It's two different students. When I go back to the absence table log and I go to the student name, as you see here, her name is here now, Judy A. Hops. And you could do that for all of the drop-down menus that you see here. So you'll put this A to C, F, H, J, and L. Any questions? I know there was a lot of rapid fire there at the end. This tracker will be amazing to track data to determine why students are registering and not attending. Programs will be able to plan how they can address certain absences issues. Yes. Yes, that's true. That's correct. The one of the and I guess like one year we were having um issues with childcare. So we were trying to track some of that data, but um if we had something like talking points at the time, then we could track the absences through there and just fill it out on the sheet. And then with the sheet, we could quantify how many students they were. Because then we were trying to explore if we could get childcare available to assist students and things like that. So, and a lot of it has to do because we need information. We need that those numbers to merit a specific service, and this would be one way that you could do that. Thank you very much, everyone. If you have any questions, um, feel free and ask. If you have a question about the tracker or about talking points, feel free and ask as well. There is, you can also book for a tech support session, and we could help you that way as a one-on-one. So just feel free to reach out. We're here to support you